What's up, Internet World? We're the News 19 Nerds. I'm Michael.
I'm Leroy.
Star Trek Episode 2, Picard.
One day we'll catch up.
Maybe. We will. Let's not make the promise. We'll just say it's possible.
I mean, in 11 episodes, it's a possibility.
Maybe. But yeah, Episode 2 of Picard. We last left Episode 1. We found out that there were two.
In Episode 1, Daj dies.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that there's a twin.
Mm-hmm.
We introduced Alison Pill's character. Picard realizes that Data has a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's trying to track down more information. And he goes to Starfleet to be reinstated.
Yes.
That's where we're left in Episode 2.
Yeah. How are we doing? We're doing non-spoilers, right? Non-spoilers, spoilers. What are we doing?
I would say just review the episode.
At this point,
yeah.
we're behind anyway. They would have seen.
Behind,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. This whole thing spoilers.
Yeah, whole thing. So
they dropped the F-bomb. Yeah. So you are the Star Trek fan. Is this the first F-bomb?
Yeah, I think so.
How did you take that? Now you're a bit of a sailor, both literally and figuratively. You are a Navy man. I'm going somewhere with this, people. I promise. But you are a sailor. You are a retired Navy man.
I'm not retired.
You're not retired?
No, the retired man means you had to do like X amount of years. I just got out.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. But you served in the Navy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honorable discharge too. I wasn't kicked out.
Put that. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
you have a bit of a potty mouth.
I have a great potty mouth.
Fair enough. So I asked that to say, as a Star Trek fan, as somebody who likes to curse, how does this make you feel?
I hate to say this.
Uh-huh.
I am conflicted.
Okay.
On one point, I'm like, finally,
Oh.
Star Trek grew up.
Oh, so you would have been happy about Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek movie?
No, because I didn't need to hear space N-words.
Fair enough. All right. Cool.
I didn't need Django Unchained in space.
All right. Fair enough.
Although, it would have been funny.
It would have been, yeah.
It would have been funny.
Yeah.
I'd have liked to see their version of White Hoods in space.
That's me. I derailed us. I'm sorry. Let's get back on track. That's on me. Go ahead.
I'm conflicted. I love Star Trek. I understand the idea of a more civilized show that is not as grimy, doesn't use foul language to a certain extent. So I get that. I can understand what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Who disagree with, who do not use that language. I personally have no problem with the F word here and there. And I felt...
All the time. Go ahead.
And I felt it was, in that moment, I was like, I felt it was warranted in my opinion. Now, some people may disagree.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I felt it was warranted is because this woman basically is saying the gall.
Like, you gonna come back to me?
How basically that whole long pause was a how dare you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, it is now. Don't get me wrong. Picard handles things differently. He has broken some rules. He's gone against Starfleet at times, and I could see where you could be like, Picard, you kind of a wild card at times. But Picard is nowhere close to being a Kirk. Like I could see if you did that to Kirk.
Yeah.
Because Kirk pretty much just does whatever. Kirk is a space cowboy.
Yeah. Kirk does whatever he wants.
He literally, whether it's the Kelvin timeline, it's the original timeline, you read the...
Yeah, both Pine and Shatner just did whatever they want.
Kirk does whatever he wants. Picard, there's usually a reason. To me, I thought that was like mind-blowing because then to me, that explained the rift between Kirk and Starfleet was big.
Yeah.
That's what the F word meant to me.
Okay. As somebody who, again, doesn't watch a lot of Star Trek, but I've seen movies, both old movies and pre-Kelvin and post-Kelvin timeline stuff. It seemed weird just because I'm not used to cursing in Star Trek. So to me, it was just kind of like, I get what she was saying, but it was weird, and it stuck out even more because
Star Trek's not known for that.
Right, and also I doubt we're gonna get it again.
I hope we don't get it again.
So it's just kind of like maybe they're doing it to drive. So many feelings are coming out. Maybe they're doing it to drive a point, just to let you know how big that wedge is.
That moment, and it is kind of hard to establish how big the wedge is in your second episode. The episode starts off with the synth's attack on Mars.
That was cool.
Man, let me tell you.
It was kind of scary.
It was scary, but you could tell that they are invested in this show because this is I put these special effects up against the Kelvin Universe movies.
Okay.
I'm like, wow,
it looks good. Yeah.
It really looks good. So you understand Picard's part from that first episode when he did the interview and he kind of lost it. Now you kind of seen it from Starfleet's part where, again, how dare you? Mm-hmm. Like the gall, the balls, the whatever you want to say to come back in here and darken our doorstep with your righteous indignation. And Picard was kind of like, hey man, I just found this thing. Let me get a ship and a crew so I can go investigate.
Like in his mind, he's like, and I could see because she's an admiral, right? She's also an admiral?
Yeah.
I could almost see her thinking, so in Picard's mind, the world just revolves around him. And it's like, there's been so much stuff to happen around you to just think you can just come in and get a ship whenever you want.
I laughed when he said, I'll even take the rank of captain.
Yeah. I was like, oh, thank you so much. That's wonderful. Humble of you.
I was like, yo.
Yeah.
Like, don't
I'll just be a little captain.
I was rolling. And I can understand the F word being a problem for some people because Star Trek has always been kind of family friendly. Mm-hmm. And we've heard, we've had different generations in our newsroom and where we heard some people at our newsroom talking about when the cable shows got involved with the Emmys because it allowed you to have a different kind of show. Mm-hmm. And language was part of the things that person brought up. And I can understand it from a certain point of view. There are some shows you want to not have that adult subject matter, that mm-hmm. adult language. And Star Trek was one of them that it dealt with high-minded concepts without going into the vulgar.
Yeah.
And I get that. But with that being said, it was a big moment because you were like, oh, you really left on bad terms.
I was definitely like, oh, am I supposed to watch this?
So I was like,
I almost wanted to call you. Is this? Did I miss some stuff? What's going on in Star Trek?
I'd have been like, I don't know. Do you know what Picard is?
I was like, what is this?
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. Do you remember her name?
No, but we did see her later on talking to
the Vulcan somebody who is part of Starfleet.
Yep.
And maybe she's like the Vulcan. I keep saying Vulcan. The Romulan liaison.
She is. Man, if you had to ask me, because I thought I wrote it down on my notes, but I believe, and when we get to episode 3, I believe she is part of a secret society or cabal. We have heard about, was it Section 31?
Oh, I don't remember the number.
Well, so if you've been watching Discovery, and mm-hmm. you've been watching, you hear a little bit about Section 31 in Discovery. You hear a little bit about it in the Kelvin universe and Star Trek Into the Darkness. And I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe she may be part of that group.
Of Section 31?
Yes.
Well, we know she is a part of this secret Black Ops group. Mm-hmm. We do know that.
Yes.
Because once she talks to the Starfleet Admiral, she talks to another person who's like, yo, your squad messed up.
Yep.
They didn't get the job done what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So fix this or I'll find somebody who can fix it.
Pretty much.
Which is cool.
The first time we've seen Section 31 before
mm-hmm.
in earlier Star Trek.
Before Discovery stuff.
Before Discovery. But
okay.
The reason why I bring it up is because that's I think they're going to play a bigger part in this whole thing.
Okay.
The woman she was talking to, we realize in this episode, is actually a Romulan.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually knows our Romulan friend
who's on the Borg cube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because when we first see her, she has human ears.
Yep.
Right? But I guess she's undercover or whatever because they said something about her ears,
mm-hmm.
like ear bending or something.
Yep.
Almost reminded me of back in the day of like I don't know exactly the dynasty, but I guess dang, what was the show?
Marco Polo?
Yes, thank you. You knew where, see? Man,
I wanted to see how long it was going to take you to
Marco
get
Polo, where they would bend the girl's feet or whatever to like bend them how they wanted them or whatever. It kind of reminded me of that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we're seeing a little bit more. I'm okay with this introducing everybody to the point where we get a little bit more, we get a little bit more, we get a little bit more too. Mm-hmm. I admit to for me this show is probably starting a little slow. But I like it. Mm-hmm. I really do. It's not jumping in directly into what is going on. We don't know what the board cube is to why they're mining it.
Not as much action in this episode as the first one.
No, but we are getting to know some of the key players. Mm-hmm. We got to see Daj's sister, and the one thing I thought was interesting is that she talked to that black woman who, I don't know, if you never watched Deep Space Nine, did you?
Nope.
So the woman she was talking to, that was a Trill.
Okay.
So you saw the little things on her neck.
Mm-hmm.
So the Trill are a species that are symbiotic with this creature that goes, I believe, right here in the abdomen, and it's almost like looks like a little starfish.
Okay.
Well, no, a manta, and it's inserted in here, and they share experiences and they share memories, and so I wonder if that character's going to come back, but not Jerry Ryan, who was the woman. On the original Deep Space Nine, there was a Trill. Who's the brunette who used to be on Becker? Anyway,
let us know in the
she
chat.
was a Trill.
Okay.
And Worf and her had a relationship, and then
Becker, was that with Ted Danson?
Yeah.
Where he was the ornery old man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was on that show.
Okay.
Then she left Star Trek, and then she got on that show. But anyway, Worf fell in love with her, and then something happened to her. She died, and then she came back, and then it was like a different, didn't really.
Okay.
Oh man, my girl's gone for real. Yeah. Even though the Trill did something. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Kirk goes back,
mm-hmm.
talks to his House Romulans, as you've dubbed him.
You said Kirk. You meant Picard?
Picard, I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. There we go.
Went back, talked to his House Romulans, who were part of the
I never brought that up on camera.
Oh,
but
you did?
I did not.
I swear I thought you did.
No, because you asked me if I was going to do it. I wasn't bringing it up on camera. But anyway, there we go. Yes.
His murder servants.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who are part of the Tal Shiar.
Yeah.
Who are, I don't know if you knew this, but those two were actually, one of our commenters had mentioned that in the comic series leading up to Picard, they were actually assigned to kill Picard.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they, became friends, and they decided to go work on...
Make some wine.
Yeah, I wouldn't go say that. So I was going to say the P word. Go work on the plantation together. You put that in my head. That's your fault. You did this.
Okay, I'll take that.
So we see them go to Daj's apartment. Mm-hmm. They realize that the Tal Shiar had made everything disappear, and we're left.
And she says something so cool. She talks about the technology. Picard's like, yeah, that thing doesn't work. It's like, yeah, we wanted you to think. Yeah. That is so genius.
Yep.
In terms of subterfuge of thinking, yeah, okay, you keep thinking it doesn't work while we're getting all this intel.
And she's like,
yeah, it's like it works on multiple levels because it also kind of shows Picard's arrogance a little bit. It's like, oh, well, their technology is garbage. Of course, it doesn't work. But
well, not just Picard's arrogance, Starfleet's,
yeah,
because they automatically assumed because it was the other,
mm-hmm.
it shouldn't work, and we're more sophisticated than them. They're space trash, and she's like, ha ha ha, silly human.
Yeah, pretty much.
Could have murdered you 17 ways.
I really like that interchange between them.
I'm involved in this show. I've tried not to gorge the episodes. I've really watched. One of the things that I thought was very interesting is that they talked about Romulans infiltrating Starfleet, mm-hmm. and we saw it. It's one of those things where we're getting more of the politics of Starfleet and the intertwining of aliens and the Federation and how the different prejudices. I'm really liking this because the one thing that I always kind of missed about the original Star Trek and Next Generation that I thought Deep Space Nine got into it is that regardless of who you are and what kind of person you are, or like where you're from, there's always these prejudices, these preconceived notions, these things you have to break down, you have to build back up. This idea of everybody getting along, that this utopian society isn't always utopian. And whatever happened, that rift between Picard and Starfleet, and whatever the Romulans did, and mixed in with the sense, gives us some interesting dialogue and interesting. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say, but this interesting relationships between all these different people. Because at the end of the episode, we end up with your girl Michelle Hurd, Rafi, and she's like, you might as well just call the space taxi, a space Uber back. And he's like, I got some wine, and we get to kill Romulans. And she's like, come on in, I got a glass. Yeah,
and it's interesting because we see him get his communicator, or I don't even know what the actual thing is on his chest, whatever the official name of it is, but the thing that they always hit.
They'll tell you.
Yes. He hits that and he says Rafi, and says, don't hang up, I need a ship.
Yeah.
So to me, their relationship has definitely soured, but he's still able to call on her for some things, because in my mind, if you were to do this and the person were to tell you to, don't talk to me anymore, you wouldn't go visit them unless you thought you could get something. Or you could convince them to at least hear you out.
Or at least hear you out. Or at least they can point you the right direction.
So I feel like at least their relationship is somewhat, even if it's just a functional, pure business relationship, he could at least talk to her to figure something out, which was cool.
Well, the thing that I thought was interesting is that when he was talking to the House Romulans, should have never told me that. He had this conversation, and they were like, well, what about this person? What about that person? And in your back of your mind, you're like, well, why didn't he get the gang back together? Like the Blues Brothers. Why didn't he get the gang back together and go out there and save space?
Yeah.
And he said they would jump at a moment's notice, but I don't want to involve them. And he picks Rafi, and we find out in episode 3 why. But in this episode, it's this idea of we're kind of getting to understand what happened with Picard, why he left, and also these relationships he had with people from Next Generation are there. They're golden, but he doesn't want to involve them in this. And for some reason, whatever this rift is, it's big enough that he's having to call people maybe he wouldn't normally but he understands it's dangerous. So he needs dangerous people. And I will say, going back to, you brought up the F word, I was glad she didn't say it there. I don't want Star Trek, even though I love cursing. I think it's a wonderful way to express yourself. I was glad she didn't, it didn't devolve into this whole litany of curse words every 5-10 minutes.
Right.
I was glad that it was that one time they used it. Hopefully we never hear it again unless, a spaceship blows up or the planet, because I've always been one of those people who was like, in the heat of the moment, you might say some stuff. So I can understand that. But I also like the fact that even though they had that relationship and whatever happened between them, she wasn't like, F you, Picard, don't you ever call here again, you bald B. And I didn't want that. I didn't. Now, if Tarantino does it,
that's what you would have got.
That's different. You would have got that. He'd have been a bald B. She'd have been a space B. I mean, he'd have made up curse words.
Probably.
I mean, he'd have brought in fracking.
For Battlestar?
Yep.
Yeah.
He'd have created his own curse language.
Yeah. So any other passing thoughts or anything on this? On episode 2 overall? You're essentially the show's a little slow, but you're liking where it's going. You're liking the pace. Shameless plug for our other show that we're reviewing right now, The Outsider. In some of those videos, I've talked about how I didn't necessarily like the pace of the show at first, but I'm kind of getting into it. And with this one, this has a slow pace too, and I don't know what the difference is from that show to this show, but I seem to. I'm on board with this pace so far. I'm on board quicker for this show than I was for The Outsider in terms of pacing.
It's interesting you said it, because for me, Both shows to me are very slow, but they're in their infancy.
Mm-hmm.
With Outsider getting a little further in, Picard seems to be this show that they seem to have taken their time and they have a story to tell and they're just giving us bits and pieces. I know in episode 3, spoiler alert, they get to the point where there is a ship. You do see the coming together of a crew. We meet some more of his cast of merry men or women who come together and they work to save the universe or whatever. I'm cool with the slow pacing. I don't need Star Trek to always be action. I don't need it to always be, the next big thing. To me, that was what Star Wars was for.
Right.
That space opera. To me, the thing I loved about Star Trek was the exchange of ideas in the future and how we relate to other species, other humans, other individuals, other cultures, other societies, and how they work together in this giant menagerie of worlds. You talked about, before we started doing this, you had mentioned the Prime Directive and this idea that was the sacred oath that Starfleet had instilled in these officers, that the Prime Directive is always to be followed even at the cost of your own life. Mm-hmm. People have given up their life for the Prime Directive of not actually changing a society's. We saw that was one of the things you saw in Into the Darkness. I know Into the Darkness gets a lot of bad rap, but the beginning of that movie, Spock was okay with dying to keep the Prime Directive.
Right.
That's how big that order is. Kirk, on the other hand, was one of those people who was like, "That's my friend. I'm not going to let you die if I can save it. Damn the Prime Directive." That's one of those things. To me, I always felt like that Star Trek brought this idea of you work with your emotions, you work with your heart, you're human. Mm-hmm. Whereas Spock was saying, that's what you guys do. We don't. We can control it. We're logical, and how these different ideas and themes conflict with each other and how we navigate. And that's what I thought Star Trek always did. So I don't need it to be fast. And even though, don't get me wrong, that action in that first episode was amazing. Mm-hmm. When you saw her punch a dude in the throat who got teleported in, ooh, man. Yeah. Imagine you getting into a fight and you think, oh, and you die instantly.
Right. That's the way you teleport into death. That's wild. That's something to think about, man.
You get your ass kicked before the fight even starts.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's
wild.
Just, ooh. But that's what and to your point, I don't need it to be fast. I let it grow, let it mature, let it get to this point. Because Picard is not, it's almost like the show is going at his pace. Mm-hmm. And he's not a quick, react to stuff. He's, like we saw in the first episode.
That man got a cane.
Well, not only that, remember the first episode, Dash showed up and she was like, he's like,
yeah, yeah.
He's like, you want some tea?
Yeah.
He's like, we'll deal with it in the morning. And you're like, some people trying to kill me, man.
Nah.
He's like, Earl Grey?
I do like he's always about his liquids, whether it's tea or coffee or wine or whatever. I like that about him.
So yeah, I don't need it to be quick. Now don't get me wrong, I know it's going to be a little action packed, but it's nice to have another slice of Star Trek. I wonder how it's doing though. Like, they never
CBS All Access doesn't reveal
none of them release data unless they want you to know. So,
yeah, but I feel like I've never heard anything about anything from CBS. Like, at least with Netflix or Disney, they say, we got these many subscribers or these many people watch the show. I've never heard anything on CBS All Access.
Well, we know that CBS All Access, or CBS and Viacom, since they merged, last week there was a report that they're going to do a super streaming service. They're getting into the streaming wars, combining all of their little niche properties into one app. And now I don't know if that means the other apps will stay around, but Viacom owns a lot of stuff. CBS owns a lot of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what that price point is. I believe it's going to be upwards of $15. I believe it will have a lot of the stuff that we see on CBS All Access.
Yeah.
The question is CBS All Access going to stay and there's going to be a super app, or are they going to mold them in together? Kind of like what we see on Disney Plus, where you have like Here's your Star Trek. Here's your BET. Here's your Nickelodeon and all that other stuff. It's going to be interesting to see where this all shakes out.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you go on CBS All Access, you can just click on Star Trek and get to, the shorts, Discovery. You can see some of the older movies. I would be interested to see how CBS is rating how well they're doing with this show.
Yeah.
The social media outreach, people talking about it. Because don't get me wrong, there are some people who are not a fan of this show.
Okay.
There are some people who are not who do not like Alex. I think it's Alex Kurtzman. Alex Kurtzman. They're not a fan of some of the things. Akiva Goldsman. They're not a fans of some of these people who are pushing this new genre of Star Trek.
Okay.
I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay. That's it for us on episode 2. Episode 3 will come up sometime.
It will be before
Episode
5.
4? Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
I don't want to commit to nothing.
There we go, before episode 5. There we go.
I thought we would go do Picard yesterday, and then stuff breaking news just exploded, and we were like, oh, I guess we won't get to it today.
Yeah.
We barely got to it today.
Yeah. But for more of our shenanigans here, you can always find us here on YouTube, also Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WLTX.com. Like, comment, subscribe, and we're out.
Peace.